home till I fix it.
We're in this together, right?
We need a ton of trick arrows.
Gotta show me how you make those.
Hello, Flickin' Fanatics. That's the new thing I just came up with. What's going
I
on?
love it.
It's Jesse Swift with Flickin' Real, your source for news, reviews, and daily discourse. And tonight we will be discoursing some Disney Plus Marvel Hawkeye show. And with me, I have not Sean Wingblade, but somebody that apparently I didn't have time to fix the overlay for. But that is a very welcome guest, but hosting duties today. That is Allison Salamone.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. You really should tell the people what's happening because I'm auditioning to take over Sean's spot.
Well, we brought that up last week, and what I think the people watching weren't aware of is how quickly we were going to act on that. Sean just said, I got to put the truth out there. Sean was saying some really off-color stuff to me outside of the show, and I said, I don't think this represents our channel.
I don't think this is going to work for you guys. It's like, oh, so this we'll give the people what they really want.
Like he was telling me, he's like, so listen, man, I have opinions that aren't always your opinions. And I said, right out. You lost me at the beginning.
It is really smart, Sean. It is. So it's unfortunate that you can't hear us.
Well, as you know, what Sean said, but much smarter.
Much smarter.
And with us today to fill in Allison's gap, because Allison switched places. Ooh, I don't like the phrasing of that, but we're going to continue to move forward.
Just going to keep going with it.
That is our newest celebrity, and that is my good friend Pat. You might know him as Montyverse or from the Montyverse, and we're going to talk about, well, not multiverses. We're talking Montyverse. Get on the stream. Don't let me talk.
Oh, hey guys! Always happy to fill a gap.
Always happy to fill a gap. Thank you for not letting that just slide under the radar. I appreciate it so much. So
Sean looked different. He's much better looking today. Hobbit F. Andy, much better looking.
Thank you, Hobbit, for joining the stream again. And it's so weird. This is our second episode talking about Hawkeye, but the show's halfway over. And I made I made a bad joke about that in the description, but I don't feel guilty for it. So this episode is called Echoes, and all I can think of is the Gorilla Zoe song, but I don't know if anybody knows what that is. Yes? No? Maybe? I don't know.
Nope.
Okay, that's fine.
Nope. All you.
Either that or Mr. Deeds when he's shouting in the room, Echo, and then there's the guy, the old guy, and he's like, you try it. Boom.
I'm on board with that one. that one I'm on board with.
That one I get.
All right, we're off to a great start. As you guys can see above Allison's head, actually, I'm going to switch this because Allison's Sean today. As you can see above Pat's head, we're talking spoilers, and that's pretty much from the jump. We do not do this show the same way that everyone else does. We're not going to go scene by scene, straight up analysis through things. This is more of an open discussion. The first thing I want to do, everyone takes 1 to 2 minutes, talk about how we're feeling about the show as a whole, how we felt about this episode, and then we'll dive into some of the nitty-gritties and things that happened, and highlights and things of that nature. We try to keep it to a nice, digestible, around 30 minutes per episode. So, Pat, you're new to the show, or not to this show, not to Hawkeye. You've been watching it all the way back since the beginning of the show.
I know a couple of things about Hawkeye.
And you're telling me about one of your favorite pastimes that comes into play here. I assume that's gelling up your hair, or was it something else?
Considering I'm bald, no. I am an archer. I'm a target archer. I've been since I was a kid, and so like comic book archers like Green Arrow and Hawkeye have always meant like a significant amount more to me than most people. So I've been enjoying the show so far.
Well, I can't wait until I can have something relevant to say when we talk about No Way Home, because I also was bit by a radioactive spider, but that's neither here nor there. Pat, we're so happy to have you on the show. How do you feel about the episode Echoes, and how have you felt from the first two leading into this one? Do you think it's a strong transition? Do you think we're kind of finding our groove? Do you have any qualms, any concerns?
Here's the thing, in regards to this episode, I feel like this is Act 2 of a movie, because the way I've viewed this series so far, as opposed to really the other Marvel shows, is this feels more to me than any of the other series as like a 6-hour movie. Like because it really, like, the first 2 episodes really felt like an act 1 to me, introducing new characters, talking about the new status quo, because these are things that we really needed. Like we've been going pretty intense in phase 4 so far, introducing tons of new things, talking about the multiverse, talking about like new transitions on a global scale, but we really have to catch up on the street level of the MCU. And I think that's where episode 1 and 2 kind of really put the focus on. Like, this is what New York looks like post Endgame. And I think that's something I was very curious to see. Yeah, that was
I found what I could. I did my best.
Yeah,
I was like, it was street level. They're literally sitting on the street, and that blew it up. I was like,
but that to me is something that I really was like craving from the MCU, like especially coming out of like Eternals and Loki and Shang-Chi, that has all of this like magic and mysticism and multiversal stuff going on. Oh, hey Nikki, what's going on? How are you?
Oh, it's the famous Egg Lord.
Yes, that is the world famous Egg Lord.
The girlfriend. We love Nikki. She's the best.
Yeah, she's okay.
I love Nikki. It's fine.
But yeah, like this to me was like a change of pace, and I welcomed it. It's like a fun Christmas movie, and I think this episode kind of delivers on the promise that we got, where it was going to be like a buddy cop show with Kate and Clint like working together and going on this fun Christmassy adventure. And we get a lot of that, but we also get a lot of drama as well. I was a huge fan of this episode. There's a ton of stuff that's ripped straight from the comic in episode 3.
By the way, today's episode is brought to you by the phrase "from the comics."
Exactly. I said that like about 700 times watching this. I was like, oh, that's from the comic. That's from the comic. That's from the comic. But the other important thing we got in this episode was Echo, and I think she creates such a huge impact on the show, just from like her small amount of time that we've had her so far in the MCU. Alaqua Cox has such a presence to her. I was really just like blown away.
It's one of those names I can spell, but every time I try, I'm just like to speak it. I'm like, huh? I like your name.
You can spell that because I can't spell it. Like that's
definitely.
Okay, say it for me again. It's Alaqua. Alaqua.
I've always pronounced it Alaqua, like Alaqua.
Okay.
I believe that's the correct pronunciation.
I don't want to butcher it, but I mean that sounds pretty good. But she's awesome, and if glares could kill, she'd be a murderer.
Oh, absolutely. Her presence is sensational.
I want to boot it over to Allison, but what I will say when you're talking about like the layout of the series, how you felt like this was Act 2, is I think something that I adjusted to quicker than most that I don't think everybody has is they have certain expectations of these episodes, because I don't think they've let it sink in that it's more like a 6-hour movie than it is a series, because they're expecting every episode to have an Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, instead of multiple episodes being part of an act and the series being an Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Before I ever saw like WandaVision, I saw it as that. I was like, this is going to be a 9-hour. Well, WandaVision, because of the TV influences, was a little more episodic, so maybe a bad example. But like Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, that all felt like a movie to me. That we just got more time to focus on the characters and relationships and things like that. Anyways, I just wanted to add in my 2 cents. Allison, how are you feeling about the show so far?
I think the first thing I said after watching episode 3 was I sent Pat a message, and it was in all capital letters. I went, "That's it. That's how
the best
we're gonna." Hi. That's what I want. I need a little bit more Lucky the Pizza Dog, please, with his one eye. That'll be great. I know they're probably holding out on it because he's gonna be everybody's favorite. So I'm okay with waiting, but I need some more Lucky. But I sent Pat a message. I was like, "That's it. Like, this is how we're ending this episode." Like, it didn't feel like 40 minutes. It felt like it was just the fastest.
Those are rookie
ride.
numbers. Bump up those run times.
Yeah, I'm like, it was, especially when you have like 49 and like 50 for the first 2, and it's like you do this episode and you have all these cool trick arrows and everything just coming and just like amazing, like it's like a amazing action sequence, and then it's like, and the episode's done. And now I'm so annoyed I have to wait till Wednesday. But that, if by waiting till Wednesday, it's like I also makes me realize how much closer we're getting to the end. And I'm like, I could wait longer than Wednesday because I also don't want it to end. Because I'm loving it so much. And I like what they're doing with it in the sense because it is a run up to Christmas. So it has to be done. Like it has to go boom, 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 boom like that because he doesn't have it's not like there's a whole lot of time. And Spider-Man, yes. Sorry. So I'm a little over Spider-Man at the moment, but
that's what I love about the show. It's like the definition of a ticking clock. Like they show you the numbers like every episode.
I'm kind of wondering, guys, if I am, nobody has said it to my face yet, and I'd hate to be called a Marvel shill, but am I too easy to please? Because I go and saw Eternals. I cried. I loved it. I thought it was just a remarkable story, and it worked for me on pretty much every level. Shang-Chi, I thought was fantastic, incredible. And then like Hawkeye, everyone's like, oh, these first 2 episodes are kind of rough. I was like, this is exactly what I want. I want to go from having Arsham the judge ripping through the clouds, like I'm going to come back and possibly destroy this entire planet, to a guy trying to get home for Christmas fighting guys in tracksuits. Like this is perfect for me. This is what reading comics is about. You might have a story about, in DC Comics, like Batman taking on like a crime boss, and then the very next episode you have Darkseid like wiping out like New Genesis or planets and stuff like that. So I guess I don't want to say I'm a Marvel simp, but I'm a simp for what they're doing right now. It's working for me all the way. I love this show. It's not perfect. It's not my favorite right now. It's kind of riding middle ground, but I'm feeling very invested in these characters, and I like having some human characters to relate to, because even though Loki had like human characteristics, he's a god. He's got different experiences and stuff like this. And Hawkeye he's that guy. He's the every guy on the Avengers. And Kate Bishop is a very fun character. I like her. I was watching something where somebody talked about how well she balances being, she teases and she prods, but she does it without being like harmfully mean. She's a kind soul, and she, we see that, I'm sure we'll talk about it more, but that scene where she is translating for Clint so that he can talk like via paper to his son Nathaniel on the phone. I looked over at my wife and we both had like wet eyes, and I was like, I wasn't ready for this.
They brought the feels.
Feels train.
Cried so hard. And again, Pat knows me from like outside of here. Like he knows, and now you've learned, Jesse, like how easy it is. Maybe not sad, but how easy it is to make me cry. So like the fact that he watched this episode and the first thing he said to me was like, no, it's gonna get you. And
so you're gonna cry multiple times.
And I sure did. Not even before like that phone conversation when you're seeing young Maya and she's in school trying to learn, and she's trying to read lips, and like the way that they did that was so beautiful, right? Like it would pop up as the subtitle when she could read the lips, and then as soon as like the teacher looked away, I'm like choking up. Like as soon as the teacher, it was so
okay. I do have a point of relevance. I hate interrupting. I feel bad, but like I want to say something before it's like not relevant anymore. But Pat's like, hey, I'm an archer. I know all these things about bows and quivers and arrows and all that good stuff. I took 3 years of sign language, and more about it's more than just learning a language. It's about learning the culture and watching a lot of movies about it and stuff, and finding out how people fit or struggle to fit in society, and the struggles that deaf people may have that people don't think about. And so the fact when she would like turn away slightly, like you were saying, the subtitles just cut off, I looked at Lauren and I was like, this is fantastic. This is more, what Marvel's doing is they're doing more than checking a box. They're doing more than like hitting their little diversity quota. They are taking advantage and exploring these things, much like Black Panther, I felt like got to actually explore something, and it wasn't about, hey, we're overdue for a Black-led film. They made it matter, and I think they're doing that again. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, Pat. I cannot think of the word. Echo in the comics does not have a prosthetic, is the word I'm looking for, correct?
No, that they did that because the actress had one,
Right.
and they just
So
flowed
cool.
naturally into the character, which I think adds even more to the character.
And yeah, and I looked, because I looked it up just out of curiosity to see if it was actually the actress or if it was a choice that they made. And I love that is, you know, she's had to adapt to multiple things that could be considered shortcomings in her life, but you know, she's been compared to Taskmaster a lot. The fact that she's able to do so much and be such a force and use all of the things that could be disadvantages as advantages, like the way she kicks Clint in the side of the head with
Mm-hmm.
the prosthetic leg, I'm like, ow, shit, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah,
I really
sorry.
like her character a lot. She's fierce, and like I said, that glare, I was like, I never want anyone to look at me like that. Like, oh my god.
absolutely.
I thought
And,
I thought I made a mean face, and then that happened. I'm like, mm-mm.
I think this Echo is a lot more formidable even than Echo in the comics, because like you touched on, like they showed her struggling. Like her father even said, you have to learn to walk between two worlds, because he didn't have the means to put her, like in the comics, she went to all the best schools. She went to all the gifted, disabled schools. But in this, she really had to fight just to survive, and she carries that with her. And so when she sees that Clint is hearing impaired, but he doesn't know how to sign, she goes from being the person that was looked down on to looking down on him, because she became more than her disability. So she looks down on him for not doing the same. And I love those little moments, because this episode is full of them, like those little those moments that inform the character, because they do so much with so little.
And I cannot remember his name off the top of my head. I looked it up and then I forgot it, but the gentleman playing her father, I've seen him before, and he has such a warm, welcoming presence. And I get that they kind of hinted at that he was obviously involved in some sort of crime or something like that. But just for the father-daughter relationship that we got to see, I thought it was handled so well. And the fact that many of us were like had tears in our eyes the first 5 minutes of the episode because of all that work that they put in just, you know, a couple minutes. But I think that brings us to the elephant in the room, and I do have a poll in the chat here for anyone that hasn't voted on that. Please do so, and also while you're clicking on things, if you haven't already, click that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. If you aren't new to the channel, share the video. That would be very appreciated. Flood the tweets, do the tweeters,
Do the tweeters, all the socials.
do the tweeters, and we also have a Streamlabs down here, and that helps support the channel, helps us grow, helps us put more time and energy in this, because this is time consuming. It takes a lot of work to put it together. I was saying something important. Oh yeah, the stuff that's on our poll here. Is that Kingpin? It's Kingpin.
It has to be.
It has to be. There's
Because why would you do that if it wasn't?
Right.
Why would you
and
make
call
it
him uncle and like have all these people talk, like, yeah, no,
because if it's anyone else, we don't care.
And here's the thing, like at first I thought they were gonna pull a swerve on us, because they like to do that thing where if the comic book fans, like they did this in the Eternals, if the comic book fans are in the know about characters,
Yeah,
they like to do a little swerve every once in a while.
that's what puts me at not 100%. I'm at like
With that
96.
But I feel like for how
That
good
laugh
this show
Vinny
is going,
D'Onofrio's laugh.
Right.
and like with the way that the show is going and how much they're doing with it, and how they're really sucking you in, it would be a real like dick move for them to be like, and just kidding. Like, I feel like it would just be such a bad turn for the show in general if it's not him, that people would be absolutely furious and over it.
There's just so many hints that they dropped in the first 2 episodes. Like they're talking about a one centralized person that is in charge of New York City crime. Like they just happened to mention that in passing in episode 1, that Ronin almost crippled. Like Ronin almost took out because he crippled crime in Manhattan so much. The fact that like they're teasing these little things, like Maya's dad worked at Fat Man's Auto Repair.
Right. Well, here's an interesting thing: the opening scene or scenes with young Maya take place before Iron Man, even meaning they take place years before the Daredevil Netflix show. If they are trying to fold these in, or if it's just going to be like, oh, it's Vincent D'Onofrio, but we're not going to explain ourselves, kind of like J.K. Simmons coming back as J. Jonah. It just exists. Which
and J. Jonah without hair coming back.
Yeah. And one of the things I've been saying about the Netflix shows, I know that Feige wasn't interested in folding it in because he doesn't like playing with other people's toys. But what's great about those shows is that one, they were very popular for a while. Two is that they didn't do anything really directly that contradicted the MCU. Like, yeah, the MCU didn't really reference them, and they only made really vague references, but there's no reason they can't. It's not like original X-Men or Fantastic Four where you have to, like, if you were going to tie them in, you have to do multiversal explaining and stuff. Be like, yeah, this is street level stuff. We don't talk about it because we're not dealing with street level stuff. But this is our first MCU really street level show. Like, even Falcon and Winter Soldier was more of like kind of globe trotting. It was a little bigger than street level. So why not? And I think everyone knows that, like, if you're gonna do it, it's so recent. You got to do Vincent D'Onofrio. Plus, that man cannot stay off Twitter and be like, "Ooh, this Hawkeye show looks really interesting."
I love all this Marvel stuff, but this is the only trailer I'll share.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. That's my point. I was like, where were you when like Loki was coming out and like WandaVision or like Avengers Endgame? You're just like, oh, I'm doing my own thing. But Hawkeye comes out and there's all these rumors about Wilson Fisk, and you're like, oh, this looks pretty good.
Yeah.
See, here's like you brought up being a Marvel show, but here's the reason why I love Marvel, because we live in a world now where Loki introduced us to variants. So Kevin Feige and the team at Marvel can literally cherry pick any aspects they like about characters and just say, okay, that's canon, but that's not canon. Charlie Cox can come back, Vincent D'Onofrio can come back, but maybe they're not the same Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk.
And here's the thing: is you don't have to explain anything.
Yeah,
really.
And it's
like
just
all you got to be is like that's the benefit of like not having to contradict. Is like you have Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, and people that have seen those shows or seen bits from whatever would be like, yep, that's Kingpin and Daredevil, and you just go forward. Yeah. And then if somebody was like, well, I don't know how these characters came to be, you can go watch those shows because the shows act like they're in the MCU.
Yeah.
So it's, go ahead. Sorry, Allison, I interrupted you for the 18th time.
Oh, I was just agreeing with everything you guys were saying. I mean,
don't do that.
Well, I am though.
Don't
like,
do that. Wingblade wouldn't do that.
Wingblade would not. That's why his opinions are trash, and I'm here, and he's not.
That's exactly.
That's exactly it. Just kidding, Sean. I think, like you said, like we were talking about with Maya, and in the beginning, and just the small choices. I honestly think with each episode that we're getting with Hawkeye, it's slowly starting to beat out WandaVision. I think for my favorite, which is hard because I loved WandaVision, but it's a really hard 1 and 2 right now, just because of, and I think too, with like the idea of with her dad talking about like walking between two worlds, being a sibling of an individual with a disability as well, I understand, not understand completely, but I feel it a little bit harder, I think, because we've had to do that with my brother, his whole life, on top of like I've had to work with him, and there's a whole nother route and things that I've had to do. So the way that they just played on that emotion was amazing. And then, like you said, where she's looking down on Clint because he has a hearing aid, and like just walks over, and instead of like
that's
physically assaulting him at the end, like she just stomps on that hearing aid. Like, figure your shit out, bro.
Yeah.
I've seen that in movies, and like a lot of times, and that's kind of where like the cultural community comes in. Sometimes that happens in the deaf community. People have feelings about people that get the implants and things, and don't like it because of either a struggle that they had to live with or they had to live without, or maybe they just think that it's God, this might be a really terrible example, but I'm thinking about, why am I bringing up X-Men 3? But think about, when they
you broke Pat, you broke Monty.
I swear there's a reason. Okay, but when they had the cure, the cure for mutation come up in X-Men 3, and God, and I'm going to reference Halle Berry's Storm. What an episode! But
what an episode.
I think she's talking to Rogue, and she says, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with any of us. And I feel that, and I understand that. And that is something that has been a response before with the implants. So I like that they took that approach with her. She's like, you rely on technology too much. You might be better served to not do that. I did bring up Starger's comment because it's possibly speculation that we don't see Fisk until the Echo show. Because it's possible this show might have too much going on. Because when you talk about Tracksuit Mafia, you got Echo, you got Jack, you might have something going on with Mom. We still don't have a clear-cut direction for the show, and it's halfway over.
I don't think so. I think him being the puppet master is very much the thought that everyone has and what they're setting up. And there's this image from the Fraction comic of him just sitting at a table full of like other wealthy criminals and just saying like, when Hawkeye's messing too much when they're affairs, he's like, okay, even though he's Avenger, we're just gonna have to kill this guy. And I feel like that would be such a great way to end this show and make it, season 2, Hawkeye season 2. This time it's personal. The Kingpin's gonna be chasing after him and Kate Bishop.
Well, I think that's what I think as well. Like that, if anything, we might get Vincent at the end of the series.
So
I don't think it's
with
gonna be Kingpin focused.
So do you think with Echo, we're getting like right now so we know with Echo, she thinks that one of them is Ronin, that she thinks that Kate Bishop is the one that killed her father, but we all know who was the Ronin. But so are we thinking that for the next, 3 episodes that's our bad guy is Echo, or is it going to be something else or someone else that comes up?
We're so quick to forget about Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
Elena is in this show.
And it's also curious to know who would leak that picture. Possibly Wilson Fisk would leak that picture of Clint as Ronin.
Do you think Wilson's working with
it would
Valentina?
Not surprise me. Like two wealthy people higher up in the food chain. Like who that's why I think like maybe Wilson Fisk is getting a little annoyed that Hawkeye is messing too much with their street level problems. Like this Avengers coming in.
I have been watching so many breakdowns, and this is the first place that I've heard the concept of Valentina and Wilson Fisk working together. I love it so much.
I do like that.
Galore. I'm a theory
guy. She's still because she's blaming him for her sister's death. So
like if you
now
go
you got
back,
Echo blaming one of them. Okay.
Because like if you go back and you watch Black Widow, like there's a blatant picture of Clint like mask off. Like someone is weaponizing this picture, and this show sets up like a scenario where that would make the most sense, and why now is the time more than any other time that Yelena needs to take out Hawkeye because he's getting too involved in Kingpin's shit.
I think your breakdowns are definitely missing the most important reveal.
It's always Mephisto. It's always Mephisto. It's gonna
William Harold.
Scooby-Doo. It's always Mephisto until we actually get Mephisto. Then no one's gonna think it's Mephisto.
That was actually Doctor Strange's reference in the Spider-Man trailer. He said, "We do this crap. You're supposed to take the mask off of Dr. Octopus because he's Mephisto."
Of course, I missed that. Completely missed that.
Cat, my gosh.
Your cat has opinions. Let him talk.
One thing I will say is I love that we got that quick flashback of Clint as Ronin from Maya's perspective, because I think people forget.
You just brought my point back. Now I remember.
Because people forget just how like vicious Clint was. Like he was in and out of there, slicing and dicing, blood all over the place within like 5 seconds. And then he just jumps out a window and he's gone.
Now, do we think that's Clint for sure?
I mean, I had this crazy theory before this episode that Maya was somehow going to be the first Echo based out of the first Ronin based out of New York, like after finding out her father is a criminal, like hunting down and killing all of these criminals, and that Clint would take over the mantle, taking heat off of her and becoming like the second Ronin. So it kind of pays homage to what happened in the comics where Maya was the first Ronin. But no, I think that for the character trajectories of this series, I think it had to be Clint as Ronin.
Well, the other thing they don't give us though, like in the beginning, in the first episode, they gave us the date of the first Battle of New York, right?
Yeah.
When she is going to the tire shop and she sees what's happening to her dad, we don't know when that's happening.
I mean,
like
it's 1 of 5 years.
Right. but we don't know which ones. I mean, I agree with you. I think it probably is Clint, but I think there's still some speculation.
The only
Or
other
wait.
person I possibly think it could be, because they are showing some seeds in this episode, is Kazi, because he does kind of have the dissension with Maya, like, hey, like maybe you should stop looking into who this Ronin guy is. Like the boss isn't gonna like that.
Now I want to talk about why your mad theory supports my mad theory, which is so Kingpin kills Maya's father in the comics. Yes.
Yes, correct.
So Marvel likes to tweak things. I feel like Kingpin did not directly kill Maya's father, but perhaps did put out a hit, but wanted to distract her by giving her a direction, a point of vengeance. And so by taking a masked person that could have anyone behind it, because if it was like, oh, I'm going to frame so-and-so, well, they better look a lot like so-and-so. But by having somebody with a hood and a mask and everything, anybody could go in there, murder everybody, kill the dad, and then it's like, oh yeah, Ronin killed your dad, go get him. And then but then it also said that Kazi, right?
Yeah.
He said that Uncle didn't approve of your revenge path towards
Yeah, he
Ronin.
wouldn't approve if he found out.
So let me just take this mad theory banner off and shut up, because I thought I had something, but now I'm starting to second guess myself.
I could see where you're going, because like in the comics, Kazi is a hitman essentially. He's called the Clown. He's called Clown, and he's a hitman, and he field leads the tracksuit Draculas, as they're called in the comics. But in the show, he's a lot more of kind of like middle management. He's kind of like in between the grunts and Maya in a lot of ways. So I could see him kind of doing that to work his way up the ladder. But at the same time, like, it's not like Ronin was waiting for Maya to show up. Like, he was, like, she got there and he was already doing his thing. So that's the only reason why I'm not 100% sure. And if she didn't see it going on, would she have even known it was Ronin? Like, in the first, like, would she even, like, have a guess that it was Ronin?
But then couldn't Kazi be trying to like throw her off the track then? Like if he was the hitman that did it, when he's like, Uncle wouldn't approve of this if he's trying to like cover his own ass with it, because like she's getting too close, and now that he's realized, oh, the suit's shown up, that means the sword's got to be out there somewhere.
I think it would be a lot more interesting if we find out that maybe Uncle may have leaked the information to Ronin. Because that was upper management. Like, because Clint says like, oh, I hit their suppliers and then I hit tracksuit upper management. So maybe he kind of wanted to take out anyone else who was rising up to power, like to challenge him.
I love talking about Echo. Let's circle back to a little bit of Hawkeye stuff with Kate and Clint. And thank you, Pat, for sending me these images. Let's talk about that big scene that we got with all these cool arrows and stuff. We got what did she call it? The silly putty arrow.
Yeah,
I like how this cuts out just Pat. So Pat's the voice behind the image.
I'm the voice of God behind the arrows. That's it.
It's okay. Nobody wants to. I'll hide.
No one needs to.
There you go, Pat. Talk about some of the arrows and stuff that we got.
Okay, so what makes this episode so fun to like the comic book fan is like,
these are very suggestive. I'm going back to the other one. Okay.
the whole car chase in its entirety is an homage to issue number 3 of Matt Fraction and David Aja's Hawkeye comic series. The issue is called Cherry, and it's essentially a giant car chase involving a 1970s red Dodge Challenger and Clint and Kate chasing the tracksuits involving trick arrows. And what makes it so cool is this is like the first time we've seen a live action comic archer use trick arrows. And it's fun to have someone who doesn't know how to use them, because it really evokes that sense of like, why does he have all of these? Like, why does he have like a putty arrow? Why does he have like a cable arrow? And it's so cool because you could really tell the people who are behind this show, like the set designers and everything, they put a lot of effort into this scene specifically because the designs are pretty much like an exact copy of the designs from the comics, which the arrows in themselves are a homage to the Elliot R. Brown, like Marvel Encyclopedia, really technical drawings of all of these heroes' gadgets and tools. So it was really cool seeing all of that come to life on the screen. It's one of my favorite issues of the comic, and they definitely did a good job. They tweaked it a little bit in a way to make more sense. But yeah, just to see all the trick arrows and to kind of have Kate earn Clint's respect, because but after that scene's over, you can really tell that Clint's starting to respect this character more because he's able to see her skills and how she's able to use a bow. And then the one arrow that they didn't use from the comics is of course the Pimtech arrow.
Oh, I thought you meant like the one that was in the comics that they didn't use yet. Yeah, no. When it comes to like use of trick arrows, I think one of my favorite things will always actually be from an Injustice comic. And it's Green Arrow talking to Harley Quinn. And Harley Quinn's like, why do you have a boxing glove arrow? Well, sometimes I really want to punch people in the face from far away.
I use that line so much because I actually just when I was younger, I used to make like boxing glove arrows and like trick arrows.
That's so fun.
And someone would see it and they'd be like, why do you have that? And they'd be like, I want to punch someone. But they're really far away.
I have to agree with Hobbit. I love the tracksuits in this and everything with the Imagine Dragons. It's like, well, hey, look at it this way. At least you don't have to watch Imagine Dragons. I love Imagine Dragons.
Well, I was like, what a weird shout out for Imagine Dragons.
I was like, speak your truth, man. I mean, everyone talks about how great Arcane is, and guess what? The opening song is Imagine Dragons. They have several other ones.
Here we go, guys. It was Mephisto all along.
I knew it.
And that is Guava Jess.
I love her. She's so great. No, those trick arrows were so fun. I also love Hailee Steinfeld can do no wrong in my eyes, no matter what. So the banter between her and Jeremy Renner, it's always so good. So like the whole thing was, she's like, this would be easier if you turned around. And he's like, you know what, this would be easier because like he can't hear what she's saying, and like you could just see her be like so frustrated, but also like, okay, fine, he's gonna do it. Like it's so good, and I love watching their relationship develop because he gets into it originally being annoyed that he has to do this, right? And now it's like and then when they do that phone call scene, I feel like that was kind of one of the big turning points with how he kind of sees her and views her, especially after like all the other shit that they just went through, and now they're doing this, and he's like, all right, fine.
You can tell she's starting to realize that the weight of the consequences of her actions, because like towards the end of that scene, you can see in her face like a little bit of heartbreak, because it's kind of on you, Kate. It's kind of on you. But we know that she has all these talks with Clint about branding and things. Eventually, he's going to give in. We've already seen it. It would have been nice.
When she drew the costume and was like explaining it to him, I was dying. Also, speaking of time travel, Hobbit Andy being taken over by Australia and New Zealand folks. I think it's like tomorrow over there by now. Always weirds me out. Weird me out.
It's a lot of my favorite folks.
Rafa.
Hey, it's Rafa. He's a new subscriber to the channel. One of the people that helped push us over 200 subs, which is very
AJ Lancaster. You think Hailee Steinfeld said the Imagine Dragons line in front of everything?
That's actually great.
I love AJ Lancaster. What a great guy.
I unironically enjoy Imagine Dragons. I will not say that I love them. They're not always on, but I have several Imagine Dragons songs on my
I like to imagine they were watching this episode and they're heartbroken. They're like, wow, Marvel thinks we're shit.
I like how Echo's like, when I was a kid, I imagined dragons.
Yeah.
And we're done. That's it, folks. Take care. We'll be back
Have
next
a good night. Thanks for hanging out.
I think we covered a lot of the bases for the episodes here. We pushed it a little past 10 minutes, but that's okay. When you have a full tilt, archer of mass comic book knowledge, you can run a little bit longer. Was there any other things that stuck out that either really worked for you that we haven't talked about yet, or things that... Did you guys have any problems with this episode other than it was about 10 minutes too short?
No, like the time was perfect. Like I was watching it. Here's the thing. In actuality, it's not that short compared to some like the 39, 38-minute episodes we've gotten, but it just goes so fast. Like my second viewing, when I was taking notes, I checked the time code and I was already halfway done with the episode, and I was like, where did the time go? Like it's just so like fast, and everything, like you're just so sucked in from the first second to the last. No, this episode was great.
They had 2 action scenes, which means their budget ran out 10 minutes sooner.
That's what it was. They couldn't
Definitely.
afford another $300,000
My
arrow.
favorite part of the show is honestly just Kate's dumb hawk ear joke via text. I was like, that is me. I was like,
Sick
Kate
part.
is me. I would be the worst sidekick in the world.
I like how you guys brought up that she like kind of skirts the line of like mean but caring, because I think that's all bravado. I think that she does that because she's really scared. And you kind of get that in this episode where Maya chokes her and Clint has to like snap her out of it, kind of the same way that he snapped Wanda out of it in Age of Ultron, because he's just really good with kids.
Look at her, she's 9.
Yeah, which is a line directly taken from
Is
the
it?
comics.
Oh,
The line is, look at her, she's like 9 and she spoiled Ryan, and that was taken directly from the Fraction run.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
and
so cool.
we do get some good moments from Clint too. Like he says, you said you were the greatest archer, and it turns out, like, you are, or he said something along those lines. I thought it was very nice. This is definitely them being a bit nicer to each other.
Yeah. Because they
they're
have
still pretty
dueling
dysfunctional.
perspectives. Yeah, they have this
Mhm.
dueling perspective of heroism, and it all stems from that opening montage in episode 1 where Clint does the jump off the building, the grapple jump. Because like Hailee, Kate looks at it from this heroic, like grandiose viewpoint, but in actuality, Clint's getting his ass kicked at that point. The Avengers are having a rough go of it, and that's kind of like where their point of views diverge and kind of meet in this episode. Because Clint's kind of like, yeah, being a hero is great, but you have to realize you're going to lose a lot doing this. And she's like, yeah, but you're going to gain a lot. And that's why I love this show.
Well, they
She
both
keeps
did
going
that.
with like that.
Yeah.
She has the silver lining aspect of it, of like, yeah, I get that, but like, look at all the great things you're doing, and this is what you can do, and this is how we can help save people. Because her whole idea is protecting her family and protecting the people that she loves, and he, on the other hand, has already done all of that, and to the
He's
point
trying
where
to get
he's
back
now,
to it. Yeah.
and, but he's also lost a lot of things that he's loved along the way, and so he's like, I just want to be fine. Like, I feel like he just wants to go back and be with his family and leave it all alone. And like, she's pulling him in, and you can see him like slowly start, like the layers are peeling. Like he's getting sucked back in as much as he doesn't want to.
I just want to point out that I'm going to end the poll right here with 14 votes. Very, very cool. Very cool. Not everybody said 100%. Only 57 said they're 100% sure that it's Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin.
Okay.
But it was like 37% said most likely, which if I was betting,
Coward.
I would do it all the way.
Yeah. Like if he's
Go
there,
all
I'm not
in.
wrong.
Just go in.
Like if he's there, I'm not wrong. But if he's not, I'm also
You're a
not
mean,
wrong.
you're a mean gambler.
Pat's the one who just goes all in on a bluff and just sits there and stares at you to get you to fold. Is what
Listen,
he
I
does.
went all in on the Mephisto.
What Rafa brings up, honestly, is one of the reasons I regret not watching it at midnight. I was like, I'll wait till the next day. Almost every corner of that episode was spoiled for me.
So
in like 12 hours. Like I scrolled through YouTube for a second, saw a picture of the Pym arrow.
oh no.
There was another one that was
wasn't
like
surprised.
the pinching of the cheek, and it's like, this is Kingpin, and I was on Twitter, and I was like, I hate this, it's everywhere. But it's not a big deal. Like when you watch it like 12 hours later, and I feel like for a series, if it's the episode I'm gonna watch within a day, it doesn't bother me as much as like, say, No Way Home would.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So luckily Allison was there for that. I managed to get my premiere night tickets.
Same here, just to turn around and find out my company's holiday party is going to be on the same day.
Oh yeah.
So
I reopened that wound.
So it's okay though. I got the last aisle seat, like in the middle of the theater for the 10:30 showing.
There you go.
So husband is going to go at 7, and then
And I
I
think
will go
You
at
can
10:30.
avoid spoilers between when you get out of the party and that 10:30 showing.
God, I sure hope so. I just
that's
need to
not too
I need to delete Twitter off of my phone that day.
Yeah,
is what I
don't
need
go
to
on
do.
any socials.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah,
do it
I
for
know.
hours. That's doable.
It's like
Hey,
a slow-
50 Shades Geek.
Oh, he's fun. Hi, 50.
Hello.
Good to see you, friend.
I don't. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think that kind of wraps up a lot of our thoughts. We're so happy to have Pat on the show. You're welcome to come back anytime. Poor Sean never coming on the show again.
Poor Sean. Poor
Absolutely
Sean.
soul crushing.
Officially replaced. You heard it here first, people.
Replaced by Pat, not by me. I'm
That's right.
Replaced
That's
by
right.
Allison. I'm replacing Allison, who replaced
Actually,
Sean.
this is what happened. I'm Sean Wingblade now. Pat is me, and Allison gets to stay herself. That's how we're doing it here.
I just show up and look pretty. It's fine.
And John
No,
will
that's
stream
what I
that.
do.
Oh, it's not a show until John comes in with the Fast and Furious reference. Both Hawkeye and Dominic
Yes.
Toretto
So
like
wait,
Dodge
like-
Challengers. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. We do this every week, along with I got to bring up next Monday after our Monday News and Views show. So about noon o'clock Pacific Standard Time. It's 3 p.m. Eastern. Scott Fox and I will be talking about Into the Garfield verse, minus this comment that's up here right now. Where we talk about the twoquel, the duology, I don't know what you would call it. But anyways, we're going to talk about Andrew Garfield's 2 movies. What went right, what went wrong, and everything in between. So please join us for that leading up to No Way Home.
I'll tell you what went wrong. We didn't get a Rhino movie. We didn't get Paul Giamatti.
That's the wrong one.
I just love that you're doing a video with Garfield in the title on a Monday. Like, that's great. Garfield loves Monday.
Absolutely loves Monday. We should have, when we do the countdown, we should just go tick, tick, boom. Here's our episode. The jokes get worse as the night goes on.
Oh, I love this. This is great.
All right, guys. I'm going to say thank you for the third and final time for both our guests, everyone joining us. Pretty good turnout today. We will see you guys next Thursday night. I'm going to try to squeeze in a Sunday speakeasy this weekend, but I'm going down to Schmodown Spectacular tomorrow night. So for everybody here that knows what that is, which I think is a whole chat.
Yes, Egler, Nikki.
It's going to be ridiculous. So we'll see you guys when we see you. If not Sunday, then definitely Monday for our twofer news and views and the Spider-Man episode. But thank you for joining us. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, share the video, and we'll talk to you next time.